Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am really excited that you're here with me today. I am going to be talking about a topic I am really passionate about. It is one of my favorite things to talk about. I think about it a lot. I think it is so important for business owners to think about, for people who are running organizations, really anyone who's collecting any type of information from other people, an important thing to think about. And so I can't wait to dive in. So without further ado, the topic of today's video, ethics. The ethics of asking questions, the ethics of collecting information from people, the ethics of research, the ethics of evaluation. These are all such important things. And I think as a world, as a society, we're becoming more aware of things like informed consent, or just consent, and also informed consent, and recognizing that they're important, but we're not necessarily doing it or putting it into action. And I know that a lot of the smaller organizations I work with just don't think about it. I don't think it's bad intentions, but it's like, oh, do I really need to give people this information, or give them a chance to opt out? And the answer is yes, right? It's ethics, and collecting information, asking questions in the right way is an opportunity to have a more balanced exchange of power, right? And a more two-way fair relationship, and honestly an opportunity to not take advantage of people. I think research has done terrible things to people in the past. I am sure there's research that's not, doesn't feel super great to people right now around the world. And that gives research and data a bad rap, and it doesn't have to be that way. And there are small things that you as a person can do right now to collect information that you can use in a much more ethical way, that's going to, one, in my opinion, be the right thing to do, but also have the added benefit of building positive relationships with the people you serve, with your clients, your customers, the people you're working with. And that's a really great side effect of this as well. So here are three. Is it going to be three? I'm going to say four. I'm a little mental checklist. Here are four things that you should do whenever you're collecting information from people. So a lot of times I think about am I collecting information? It's if I'm asking them to give me something or asking them a question, in which case they're giving me their opinion, you're collecting information. So anytime you're collecting information from people, things you should do. First thing, share why you're asking these questions. Share why you're asking for this information. This matters because motivation matters. Depending on what you're going to do with this information, I might not want to give it to you. And so for me to make an informed choice to say, yes, I feel good about sharing that with you, I need to know why you're asking me. And me in particular, why do you need to know what I think about this? Or why do you need my information? I have a right to know. So that's something that you should state right up front. I am asking you this because X, Y, Z, right? And then part two that kind of comes right along with this is how you plan on using the information. And so again, these two kind of go hand in hand, but the how would be, I'm going to use this to make a decision for my business, or I'm going to use this for publicity, or I'm going to use this in a report, whatever it is. Tell people, here's why I need this from you, and here's how I plan on using it. Doing this up front when you're collecting information from people allows them to make a choice about whether or not they want to share the information with you for those purposes. That respects me as a person, that respects my right to choose, that respects my autonomy. And as a bonus, it also serves as motivation for me answering in a thoughtful and honest way, because I now understand, okay, here's why this information is important to them. This is what they're going to do with it. Yeah, I want to share about this. I want to contribute to this. So I think those two things are really, really important foundations. Number three, another thing you're going to want to lay out front, is to be clear about the format, or the designations with which this information is going to be shared back out. Here's what I basically mean is this information that you're collecting from someone, is it anonymous, which means you have no idea how they answered. You don't even know if they answered, maybe. Like, their name's not attached to their answers, is completely anonymous. Even if you really, really wanted to know who answered the question in this way, you don't know. You can't know because it's anonymous. Is it anonymous? If it is, say it's anonymous. A lot of times things aren't anonymous, but sometimes people are able to put protocols in place, use certain platforms where things are anonymous. Great. If it's anonymous, say it's anonymous. If it's confidential, what that would mean is people are going to know how you responded, but we're going to keep it like between us, which you should spell out who between us is, right? You're not going to share it like broadly. And so if it's confidential, you might say something like, this information is confidential. I, Kirsten, will know how you respond, or I, Kirsten, and my team will know how you respond, but we're never going to share how you specifically responded with other people. We're always going to add up your responses or what you said with other people, right? Like, explain what the confidentiality looks like and who's in on the confidentiality, right? Or in some cases, this is the case, it could be neither. You could say, people will know how you responded to this. Your name is attached to it. I might share it with your name attached to it, and, not anonymous, not confidential. It's all out there. That's an option too. And I think especially if you're doing like polls on social media, kind of hard. You can obviously like when you share a story on Instagram, like color out who responded what, but like it's not anonymous. You could keep it confidential, but also maybe you want to share it out with other people. That's okay, but you need to ask specifically like, hey, is it okay that I share out what you said to this with your name attached to it to other people? Spell that out up front. And honestly, I ask for it specifically. So for instance, in my business, I will ask for testimonials sometimes. I love to collect like survey data to look at any growth I hypothesize is associated with my work with people, but I will ask for testimonials. And when I ask for testimonials, I say, would you be open to, writing me a testimonial? They're really helpful. I use them for marketing. I share them with clients. I put them on my website, blah, blah, blah. And then I have options, and it's like, no, thanks. Then it's like, yes, but please keep it, like, yes, but please don't use my name. And then there's like a yes, and you can use my name and organization. So I like to like spell out, like, here's exactly what will get shared out with the information. And I think, again, like, you want to give people all this knowledge so they can make an informed decision. And informed means they have all the necessary pieces of information to decide, is this right for me? Do I want to do this? Do I feel good about it? I think that's really important. And again, I think it shows respect to the people that you're working with. And I also just think it's the right thing to do. And just as a personal example from my experience, I remember being at an event and I filled out a feedback form at the end of the event, and it didn't have anything at the top that said like anonymous, confidential, whatever. And I mistakenly assumed, because in research, things are always at least confidential in my experience. I was just like really honest. I felt comfortable answering. I like put all these things down. And the person who was running the event came up to me later that day to discuss my responses to their feedback form. And I was so nervous. It was stressful. I felt like it was coming to my mind. Obviously, I've been watching a lot of TikTok. I was like, I feel personally attacked. It was horrible. And I will say it really burned my trust with that organization. In a sense, like, to be fair, they didn't tell me my name wouldn't be attached to it, but that was an assumption I made. And so when they were like, please explain your answers to this, that was really uncomfortable for me. And it just like left a bad taste in my mouth. And what I think is, I don't want to do that to other people. I don't want you to do that to people, right? And something to be mindful of is the degree of like protection you offer people does like afford more honesty in many cases, right? Like in that case, I was like, they're going to have no idea, like the head of this organization is going to have no idea that I'm the one who answered this. So I'm just going to be really honest. because I want to give them good feedback, but like I would feel awkward. I knew them. I was like, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but you know, they're not going to know it's me, so no big deal. That's a different level of like candor than if it's like, Kirsten, your name is going to be attached to this and we're going to share it with everyone else. So like now tell us what you think about it. And it can, some people unfazed by that for sure, but for other people, it can really affect how they respond to questions. And so I think, you know, you need to give someone all those options. And in my opinion, it also really helps to one, like clarify why you're asking things like we talked about, like in 1 and 2, like why you're asking this, how I'm going to use it. And then for step 3, like really clarifying like that like privacy confidential piece, because the more comfortable I feel responding, the more honest I'm going to be. And you want me to be honest. You don't want to make decisions based on lies I've told you because I'm nervous you're going to know I said it, right? So I think that's really important. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the opportunity to opt out. And so in a lot of cases, this is built in, but if you think about it, like the whole idea behind like informed consent is that you can get informed and then say no. And so if you're collecting information, particularly for like a research study or evaluation, we often have a choice that's like, you don't have to answer this. Like, and if you don't want to participate, like, you know, check no, and then you're done, right? And for your business, you could have a screening question that's like, are you okay answering more of these questions? You could add that as like an added safeguard. I'm actually like, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that actually is something I do want to add to my survey, because right now, people don't have to take it. I send it out. You can choose to take it. You can choose to not take it. I explain why it would be helpful, but I actually like a way that I can improving it better. See, learning and growing, everyone, would be to say like, are you okay answering these next few questions? And people can say no and not answer them. You can also, like, because the data collection is important, like if it's really important for your business organization, just lay it up out front. Like, if you work from me, I'm going to need you to answer these questions. It's part of working with me. And then they can decide not to work with you if they don't want to answer those questions, right? I think that there is some like built-in opportunity to opt out, right? By just like, screw this, I don't want to answer these questions. And I think that that's great. But honestly, like even as I was making this, I'm like, how can I be more ethical? Like I think about that all the time. It's like, you know what? Actually, like if I want to be more ethical, I need to add, I'm going to write it down right now, y'all. I need to add a first question that says like, I'm going to wordsmith it obviously, but like, do you like feel comfortable answering a few questions about your experience with me? And if people say no, then they're done. And if they say yes, they can continue on. Like I think I want to model this, which is why I'm like, oh, I should really add that in. For something like an onboarding form, I don't add that in because it's like, if you want to work with me, I need you to answer these questions. And that's like what I say up front. So if you don't want to work with me, that's fine. You don't have to answer them. So you do like think about the context. I think that's really important. And also just like strive to do better and be better. Like nobody's perfect. Like literally as I'm making this right now, I'm like, oh, there's a way like I can actually be better. I can improve. So nobody's perfect, myself included. But I think that it's something that we really want to think about and be mindful of again, because this gives power to the people. You want their information. This is giving the power of choice to them and allowing them to make a decision about whether or not they want you to have that information. And so again, you want to lay out why you're asking these questions, how you're going to use them. When you report it out, what does that look like in terms of confidentiality, anonymity, and then also like give them a chance to just not answer if they don't want to answer. And I think that these steps are really critical and something that you can build in to any time you're asking a question, right? Like anytime you ask a question, if there's any layer of uncertainty about how it will be used or what it's for, you should clarify. I think there are obviously instances where it's like, I'm responding to, I don't know, like a yes or no poll on Instagram. And I've used Instagram and I know that people can see how I answer. So like there is that layer of like, shouldn't people just know that? But at the same time, like what if someone doesn't? Like what's the harm in giving more information. And the harm from a business standpoint is like, oh, well, like it's just too many words and it's not like aesthetically pleasing and blah, blah, blah. But I think respecting people is more important than that. So we can just like work to do better and be more creative with it. And that's on ethics, y'all. Obviously, this is a big topic. That's just a little short intro, but those were some things that I felt like I don't see that often when I'm answering questions outside of the research world. And research, I think I've talked about this on the channel before, but like research is governed by an institutional review board that will ensure you have these features built in. Although interestingly, I actually have only seen for children the thing like do you consent, or like will you answer these questions? For adults, they just assume you're gonna X out, which maybe something research could do better too. Maybe some researchers do that better, but we have not had that on surveys I've been on. So again, always room for improvement, but this is just something that I thought might be helpful to think about, and just ways where again you can be more people, more human-centered in your work, and create opportunities for people to really like be empowered and to make a choice, and again to show that level of respect, and even to like build like support for the questions by like generating excitement over like how it's going to be used and why is this important, and all of those things. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe, share it with your friends, family, colleagues. I would really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, things you're struggling with, things you'd love to see on the channel, leave me a comment, send me an email, find me on social media, whatever. Would love to hear from you. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, y'all.